What if one simple decision you make as a leader could impact families for generations to come? One of the most powerful examples I've ever found of families comes from a man in the Old Testament that most people have never even heard of. His name was Jonadab, and he was the son of Rechab. Now, Jonadab wasn't a king, he wasn't a prophet, he wasn't a well-known leader. He was a father who loved the Lord and wanted to honor the Lord's ways. As he had learned in Deuteronomy 6, Jonadab didn't just hope his kids would turn out well. He was very intentional about it. He actually took the time to establish clear standards for his family and for the generations that would come after him. And he defined what they would value, how they would live, and what would set them apart. In fact, Jonadab gave his family very specific instructions. As Rechabites, they were not to drink wine, build houses, or plant vineyards. Instead, they were to live simply, to dwell in tents, and to remain set apart. He said, this is who we are. This is how we live. This is what defines us. And because it was clearly written, it became deeply rooted in their family identity. Now, fast forward a couple hundred years, the prophet Jeremiah in Jeremiah 35 brought Jonadab's descendants into the temple, and he set wine in front of them, cups filled, placed right in their hands. And he says to Jonadab's descendants, drink. Think about it. No one from Jonadab's time was there. No one is enforcing the rule. It would have been so easy to drink that delicious and rare temple wine, easy to justify, easy to blend in. But you know what? They refused. They looked at Jeremiah, who was offering them a rare and desirable treat, and said, no thanks. Why? Because their great-great-great-great-grandfather had given them more than instructions. He had given them a family identity, and that identity lasted for generations. And you know what? When I read that, I can't help but think about today, because we're living in a time where identity is more confused than ever. Kids are asking, who am I? What do I believe? What actually matters? And too often, families don't have a clear answer. Not because they don't care, but because they've never defined it. But when a family does have clarity, when values are defined, when identity is clear, it changes everything. There's confidence, there's teamwork, there's unity, there's direction. And that's exactly why we built Family Pillars, because most parents don't need more information. They need a process, a framework, and most importantly, Deuteronomy 6 to memorialize it. A simple, intentional way to define who their family is, what they stand for, and how they're going to live it out. Because this was God's design all along. Deuteronomy 6 tells us to impress His truth on our children, to talk about it throughout the day, when you wake in the morning, when you go to sleep, to display it in your homes. It was never meant to be accidental. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain. Because when something is clearly defined, it can be remembered, it can be lived, and it can be passed on. And that's what Jonadab did. So what would it look like if the families today had that kind of clarity? Not just good intentions, but a clearly defined identity. Not just hoping for the best, but leading with purpose. Family Pillars walks families through a very intentional, step-by-step process to define what matters most, how a family will live together, what their purpose is together, and how they'll engage with each other along the way. Family Pillars is a simple decision, and it creates a renewed sense of purpose and intention for generations to come. Partner with Family Pillars today